Reading of the minutes of the previous meeting. Motion to accept or any modifications?
I make a motion to accept. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, passed.
Wait,
Right here?
Good, thanks, Mike.
Okay, presentation of bills and accounts.
I make a motion to pay them.
What, a second?
I second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, passed. Do you want to jump to get down to the Binning Water UPS for Jim's purpose?
Sure, Jim, are you prepared to take that over?
Yes, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Afternoon, everyone. Since a couple of the situations that happened up at Binning Water with the reactor, the valving closing and having no pressure down at the city hall, so to speak, we constantly kept thinking the different thoughts on what caused the problem and how to remedy the problem. There's been suggestions by some experts talking to Judy on a UPS system, geared towards the reactors, because there is a UPS system already there for the computer system. With that in mind, I started to do some investigation work and started to look at perhaps let's get some of the experts in this electrical field involved, and who could I speak to that I know is in this type of specialty work. Spoke with Judy, got in touch. Mitsubishi Electric is one of the vendors, probably the top 3 on UPS systems in the United States right now. They're one of the 3 top vendors that some of the more specialized consultants specify. So contacted them, spoke with them briefly just to get a feel of what they felt, and it came back to needing an expertise of an electrical engineering firm. And again, I wanted just like with doctors, I didn't want a general doctor or a giant firm. I wanted a specialty firm that deals specifically with what we believe the problem is right now. With that in mind, I was able to get in touch with a firm noted as CDI out of Ramsey, New Jersey, which is like right on the thruway, about an hour away from Kingston. I spoke with them briefly about our problem and mentioned to Judy that I got into a lengthy conversation to see their philosophy and how they would approach it, that they're not married to any one specific vendor to specify, and the answers were to me, something I felt very good and comfortable with. I was very impressed with their resume. The director of engineering indicated that he would come to the site first and talk with Judy and the staff on the situation, what they encountered, go through the as-built, and then come back to us with a proposal, which I felt is really the proper way to go. So with that in mind, we had set up a meeting on Wednesday, August 3rd, 2 o'clock, to bring him to the site and go over with the staff the situation over at the UP facility.
And just to refresh everybody's memory, what happens is the reactors require 3-phase electric power. And while Central Hudson has 3-phase power available on Sauk Hill Road, because our neighbor has it, we have a 1,400 foot or 14 or 1,500 feet, quarter mile off the road. And so they wouldn't run it up that way. And what they did was they created it with the use of a step-up transformer. So it's not real authentic 3-phase power. And when there's any kind of a perturbation or disruption in the electrical grid, which there are all the time, the reactors go, oh my God, what's going on? And the SCADA system shuts them down. It's not a good thing, because then we have 0 water pressure in the city of Kingston. That's resulted in, it happened twice, and resulted in, one was momentary because we happened to be right there. And the staff was able to manually, put the valves in manual and open them, and there was no significant loss of pressure. The first time it happened was the 16th of March, I think it was 2013, and it resulted in a boil water notice because nobody had the water. It was horrible. We have since, we believe we've identified the programming fault in the SCADA system, which is telling the valves to close. We think we reversed that. We've spent some time and money doing that. But I can't go home at night confident that that's, as long as everyone's telling us that you're still going to have these electrical problems and fluctuations and things are going to happen. So I met with the health department. They've been very reasonable, and one of the things I promised them was, and they insisted that we promise, was that we not run them in automatic mode until we get a real solution for why this is happening. And we thought a UPS system for those reactors is probably what would you say, Jim, a $50,000 investment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ballparking. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I would say we should be in that range.
Right, and that's too much money for us to just have some, electrical contractor or a vendor say, yeah, I want an engineer with a PE stamp that's going to say, yes, this is the problem, this is a solution, and these are the bid specs, and you should go out and fix the problem. In the meantime, I mean, we're running in manual mode, not in automatic. We're getting all the reports we need, and the downside is that when the turbidities are very low, we're using a lot more electric because we're burning those bulbs at maximum power, as if, and what the system is designed to do is modulate the intensity of the bulbs based on the water quality, and we're just not doing that. And that was the concession. So we've taken the control panel out of the equation, so it's not making decisions about the condition of the valves.
So how much is this investigation going to cost us?
We'll give Jim, he'll give us a proposal. He'll look at it on the 3rd, and I
No,
imagine.
but when he comes up on the 3rd, it's not cost us anything.
No, is that correct?
Yes, there's no cost on the 3rd, Dennis. He said that's the best thing. He said to give you a proposal right now, he would come in high just to protect himself. So that's why I like this whole approach. Some firms will say, well, I'll do a study for $20,000. Well, he said, no, I want to come to the site, see what's available, talk to the operators, see what's going on. This firm has over 35 years experience in computer and electrical and mechanical troubleshooting.
But at some point, we're going to pay for his services.
In his proposal.
Some of it is marketing. I've done that in the past myself. I've gone to a site initially, and it's just part of marketing. And he's only going to be there like maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. When he writes his proposal is when he's going to, tell us how much it's going to cost. And then you'll make a decision whether or not we accept it or should we go out and get further proposals. But I think we should feel, right now I think we have so-called the proper doctor for this situation. This firm seems to have the expertise more than the environmental firms that we're dealing with on the bigger, larger water infrastructure projects that we are doing. This firm is smaller, doesn't do that type of work. They get into computers and analyzing computer analysis problems and mechanical problems. And this, I think we now fine-tuned it down to this.
So this firm actually does the repair work, or
No.
they're going to provide us with a proposal for a cost?
They'll do the engineering services for design and the correction.
And then recommend a correction that will likely cost us
$35,000 to $40,000.
some more money through electrician or through
Yeah,
some other, okay, just so I understand the process.
yeah.
Right. Let's say they go in a UPS system as manufactured by General Electric, Mitsubishi, or somebody else, whatever they come up with. The electrical contractor would then install that unit. They would give us, probably, we would ask at that point, design services during construction help. We don't need a resident there, but they can help us during the installation. It's at that point, very similar to what CDM is doing at the filter plant.
Okay. And so Central Hudson wouldn't or can't bring the three-phase up?
No, and I don't know which it is, but they will do it.
And we couldn't hire an electrical firm to do that? And how much would that
I
cost?
think we investigated that. I don't think that's even possible in terms of the transformers that you need to be able to create that. I don't know. All I know is that we did have them study the fluctuations in the electrical grid, and because the codes that regulate that are so, don't take into account the need for such clean power that our equipment that we use today requires, that they're well within specs, even with their fluctuations.
I mean, will this guy look at that as another option? I mean,
That's what the UPS does. The UPS
Sure he will.
will
Sure
look at all that. Sure.
If you had a transformer, as Judy said, if you have a transformer of such size installed,
Right.
this would take care of it. At that point, we would have to make a decision to see how much it would cost and how much, at that point, what kind of pressure you could put on the utility company to do it. So they're open-minded. As I said, right now, they're considered neutral. They'll come in and they want to solve the problem, whether it's UPS, transformer, or something else. That's their expertise. And I felt that's why I felt I was impressed and I was comfortable in what he was telling me, that they're just not going to come in and say, oh, stick it in and it's going to work. They said they're going to analyze our problem. And as far as their services, I believe, at this point, they seem to be exactly what we need.
And they're gonna have a fiduciary responsibility to us if we accept their proposal and hire them. So
do we have any, is there a ballpark estimate of what it's going to cost though?
No, I don't have one at this point at all. I couldn't even venture, I mean, studies generally go, $10,000 to $20,000 in general, but I have no clue at this point.
But his visit is
Free.
Is free.
So we'll
This is
know
the
that
cost
when
of
we-
marketing. You take it or you don't take it, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
There's no obligation.
Correct, there's no obligation at this time at all.
Okay.
Going to send us a proposal, I'll try to get it for the August meeting, if they can, and at that point you can make a decision, whether or not we want to go forward with them or take, or get a competitive, if we can, type of proposal or a different direction. But I think at this point, it's not going to cost us anything, and instead, we're meeting on the 3rd, so we'll meet the September meeting to get the proposal. But I think I really recommend that we go forward with this study and see what what he's going to come back with and how much.
Okay.
And also, because we're running it the way we are right now, there's really no danger, and we don't have to make a decision in September. You know what I mean? We can make a decision in September and not do anything until January, if we want to include it in the other
Right,
budget.
we're continuing to operate.
Because we're operating in a very safe fashion right now.
Oversight.
Yeah. I'm not gonna get,
Okay. We don't need a
No,
motion, it's just
no.
for our information.
I think
Okay.
Jim just wanted to,
Okay, thanks, Jim. Appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
Jump back to the,
Stay on for a while longer as you discussed, and then within about 5:45 I have to then take off.
okay.
thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Kingston Water Department ethics disclosure, I guess we're kind of
I think we're done with that. I mean,
talking a little bit beforehand,
Right.
but we have everybody submitting.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Finished
submitted.
mine.
Yeah.
Yep, Bob's is in,
Okay.
I think I'm waiting, Al has his, it's on his desk, so his is, I think there's only one, I have to get Mike's seat, and that's it. And the only reason I don't think I have Mike's is because I probably, he wasn't at the meeting and I didn't give it to him. No problem.
Now, and is that for all the employees also?
No, just management.
Just
I
management?
don't think I can ask, I think it's silly to ask the rank and file to do it. First of all, I'm not sure the union would allow it.
Yeah.
And second of all, they're not in positions to make purchasing decisions of any magnitude. So,
Okay, so it's basically management and
right.
board members, commissioners. Okay.
So, that was that.
SCADA system.
I just wanted to tell everybody that we are in design for that. We had a couple of good meetings with the design engineer at CEM. And Kyle was very helpful to us, sat in on all the meetings. The designer is very impressed with the level of security that the city's IT system has. And it's probably more than is. Jim must have lost touch somehow. It's more than it would be the level of standard for design. I mean, Kyle's done a really good job in hardening all that up. So rather than us develop our own server system here, I think we're all in agreement that we can be hosted on the city's server, and maybe in the course of doing that, make their system even more robust by making some additions and changes and stuff. So it kind of benefits everybody. And it gives us a redundancy, much like what the police department has. So the folks at CDM have that, and they're moving forward, and they'll come back to us in a reasonable amount of time with that design, and we can go to bid on that project.
Is there a time frame in regards, this is all a part of that?
Yeah, I don't believe there's a time frame on that, but I think the state starts asking you when you come and when, so I mean.
Well, they are waiting, they're waiting for bids to come in before they recommend allocating the money for that part of the project.
Hello? It must be Jim. He's technically Jim.
So I spoke to the state representative on that specifically.
And this is the program with the grant slash.
Yeah.
This is the SMLP, the Storm Mitigation Loan Program, and this is one of the 3 subcontracts and that is the 75% grant, 25% no interest loan.
So that's the filters that we're doing now.
Correct. It's the generator for
Generator and
the filter renovation and SCADA.
As long as we're staying on track on time. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're well in the time frame.
Okay. Vauxhall generator?
We're waiting on Central Hudson. Hello?
Hi, Judy. It's Jim. I just got off.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'm hanging in there. Thank you.
We're waiting on them. I have no time frame for when they're going to be probably, said by the last day in July. We got a couple more days.
Okay.
I'm hoping. But that's the holdup.
And that's coming from Central Hudson or from a race? The last day of July?
Central Hudson.
Okay.
Well, there's a deadline in the contract, but that Arrays has to have that generator installed. But he's ready to go. He's waiting on Central Hudson, so we'll have to extend the contract if Central Hudson can't get the utility in.
Okay. And there shouldn't be a problem again with the long grant? No. Okay. Phase 1B?
We're about a month behind schedule because the electrical subcontractor is behind. The first 4 filters have been totally renovated, air scours installed, ready to go. Just have to disinfect them and get a good back-T test and put them online. The problem is the controls have no electricity to them, so that's a problem. So.
I mean, is there a reason why people, the electrical contractors,
It's
so far behind, or is there an idea of when he's going to be there?
Well, I was on site there that day trying to catch up, but the problem with the electrical contractor is that it's one of our WBE, MBE required subs, and they're very much in demand because they're also a quality electrical firm. It's a WBE, and so they're just flat out busy. So the contractor is pushing as hard as he can to get them in there. And they're there, but, you know, we're just about a month behind because of that. But we're so far ahead, and we're still on schedule with the contract. It's just, it's frustrating to the contractor to have to go send this guy someplace else. He'd rather
As opposed
just...
to finishing the whole project ahead of time.
Right.
Because he's waiting.
Yes, the OCS would have, yes, they do have liquidated damages if they're beyond their schedule, but I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening because they were so far ahead. I mean, they just banged
I mean,
it.
they're stuck, they can't go further on the next 3.
They can't, we won't let them.
Right.
Because they can only take 4 out of...
Four
right,
go back
right,
online
right.
before those next 3 take.
So they're doing the chimney work, they're doing that, they're taking the chimney down, they're doing some other stuff as fillers, and, you know, they're getting ready to go. But I have a progress meeting a week, 2 week, a week. We'll find out what the updated schedule is.
I mean, are they showing up, but they're just slow?
They're not always showing up. It's, you know, when they're there, they're working. But it's, you know, you're
Maybe
running...
one day a week as opposed to 5 days a week, or?
I don't know. I mean, I know the one day I happened to be there, they were there. They were sitting there trying to figure out where they were going to run their conduits, which takes some doing because there's, you know, a lot of obstructions. They got to go around and under and over. But, you know, I don't, they're not there some days. You know, I don't know what the schedule's like. I'm really not there every day. But
Do you have a follow-up meeting with them?
we have a monthly progress meeting, so, you know, I think that's not next week, but the week after. I mean, it's usually on a Wednesday, so that would probably be something like the 18th or something, right? 20th maybe? So,
Next week, then, the 20th,
the week after,
27th?
yeah, something like that.
Cooper Lake improvements.
All I wanted to mention there, I know we're waiting on funding, there's just a couple things. I did hear back, we sent letters out to federal and our state representatives, and I did get a call back from Senator Gillibrand's staff, which was nice. And she sent me a booklet. It's nice, it's a wonderful booklet. You may want to look at, maybe you've seen this before, but it's a guide to water and wastewater federal funding programs. So it is helpful, I think, and I will follow up with her aide, and that's always a good thing, just having a cell phone number for somebody in her office. They said they would endorse our application. Look here, and the point of the letter was that dam work is ineligible under the DWSRF for the clean water. She kind of missed that point. But, and we had talked about this previously with the previous administration, and I have to say, Greg Swansea said, you should fund that by applying to the Department of Commerce under Economic Development, because without that reservoir, you have nothing. And as I read the description in here, that may be something that I should talk to Kristen about. So that's where we got, that's the help we got on that. And she said she, you know, I could follow up with her, and which would be helpful. And the other thing is on the 20th of July, the DEC is going to do their annual inspection of all of our B and C dams. And then he wants to meet with me sometime after that and find out what our schedule is for implementing remediation on Cooper Lake. So the bottom line is, we are at some point going to get pushed to come to a decision and start the work. And I'm just saying. And I think Dennis and I talked, we probably need to schedule meetings with some of our state representatives now that it's summer in the home. And so I can do that.
Especially if the DEC will provide you with maybe, like, what are some other communities that they're inspecting that are having the same issues that we're having, right? We wanted to compile that list of...
Well, there's 242 of them. I mean, I have all that
it'd be good
data.
to know, and maybe like, hopefully our DEC contact is working with some similar communities that we can go to our state assembly folks or senators and say, look, there's these 7 other communities in your district are, you know, having these same issues and are having DEC come to us to say, you've got to fix your dam, and we're saying, where's the money to do that?
Did she
So-
mention it, did you ask her if she hadn't gotten any other feedback from other?
No, but I can
communities?
follow up with her and
Yeah,
ask her.
I'm wondering if
I can do
that's.
that. I mean, of all the letters we sent, that was the only one we got any positive feedback from, so, I mean, that's positive. I will be meeting with him on the 20th when he does his inspections. I always do that just because he's actually a very helpful, pleasant person to deal with, so.
He's just out of Region 3 here.
He's out of Westchester, but he's working for Region 3. He's headquartered out of White Plains for some reason.
They're water people. Some of their stormwater and water people are in White Plains.
Yeah, no, he's.
But it's still Region 3, isn't it?
I think so.
It could, part of it could be, you could
I
be
think
right.
so. I
Could be
think so.
right.
They have his second
It
office.
just happened to be.
Yeah, they just, but I know Peter is out of the White Plains office.
Okay.
So Derek and I will meet him and we can ask him those questions and see what he can do for
I
us.
mean, you don't get an opportunity to ask someone, where's the damn money, all that often. So you should take advantage of that opportunity.
All the time.
Those damn regulations, I know.
Can you say that again? I missed out.
Yeah, so that's the only update I have on that.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to be, because I know part of that information that they wrote when they were writing the law talked about imminent concern with dam failure, and I want to make sure, but it'd be interesting to see how our inspection goes in regards to,
There's also, they're reauthorizing and amending that legislation that created that, part of the law that when they did that.
oh yeah?
Well, they're doing it for not that's not the part that they're amending. That also was part and parcel of the legislation that made us do vulnerability assessments and emergency action plan, or response plans. And so what they're trying to do is make us do cybersecurity as part of our vulnerability assessment
For the dam or for
the entire department. Not a bad idea, but
no, but under the dam regulations or?
they're both, if you read that
The
regulation,
state health departments.
they're all part and parcel of the state health department regs. It's all, it's all.
Because the dam regs are under DEC, whereas
But
the vulnerability assessment for the water supply is.
If I show you the legislation, they're both mentioned in this one legislative thing.
Okay.
I think that was what the impetus was, and then I think the DEC promulgated the specific regulations. I think, not positive. Just like when the governor signs a law, and then the health department has to go about setting up the specific requirements.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what happened. But what they're trying to do with the vulnerability assessments is our review of our entire vulnerability assessment, which is a pretty substantial amount of work, is due 31st of December 2017. This bill hasn't even passed yet and been signed, but they're trying to make us move it up to the end of this year. And include the cyber in it, which is another huge chunk to do. And as a group, we're trying to get them to put that back to a reasonable time where we actually have time to do a good job on it, because it is important. And so I'm meeting tomorrow and Friday with the Water Utility Council up in Portland to try to put that push. And I will mention again about the push about the dams, that we really need the funding. So we can maybe do it at the same time.
I mean, you haven't heard back from your water operators at all in regards to other people with issues or problems? It's not high enough on the agenda where you're always talking about it?
No, not at all. It bothers me more than other people, I think. Maybe because the people I'm dealing with aren't the ones. A lot of those folks are, Long Island folks are all groundwater.
Right.
And other places purchase water from,
Other places that have the responsibility versus them having the responsibility.
So it, it may not rise to that level with everybody, but I will certainly bring it up tomorrow.
Okay. So if you want to set something up with
Okay.
Senator Cahill or Senator
Amador.
Amador,
Do Do you want me to coordinate with Lindsay so you can attend that meeting? That would be good, I mean,
Any way I can help with the local people,
okay.
I can,
Um,
I'm more than happy to help.
And we should sit down and discuss before we go into that meeting.
Yes, I mean, Lindsay has her schedule, so we can figure
Yeah.
that all out.
I mean, obviously it's not gonna be next week, but,
No.
within a couple of weeks, maybe.
Okay,
Maybe even before next meeting, if we can,
okay.
just to give us a time frame. Board doc proposal?
As I mentioned to Dennis, and I think I had a conversation with the mayor, last meeting we talked about that, there were 2 price points, one for us to do it alone at 3,000 and for the citywide to do the same thing at 6. And my quest was to find out what the city's time frame is, and you indicated it was sometime in 2017. So my recommendation is, I work with Kyle, let him, I mean, he's looking at more than one vendor. Whatever vendor he feels is most appropriate, but he would loop me in on some of those discussions. I think you have a committee with he and Carly and
Yeah, Megan.
And Megan?
Yeah, so.
maybe I can just tag in on the meetings just to make sure that,
Yeah.
our
They haven't
needs
met yet. They've been, I mean, I sent them all the board docs because they hadn't actually, Kyle hadn't shared that with them yet, so that they.
No, because that only
Yes,
occurred
so
a
it
while
was
ago,
great.
right?
So they, so
Okay.
I sent that to them and told them to have a look and, now that.
Okay.
So
So as long
it's
as-
good, we're all very excited about it, Carly actually indicated that it seems like it's a little easier to use than some of the other
That was
more
my feeling.
expensive, complicated softwares out there, so I think it could really help.
And I think we can also go to the school district and ask them what they think of it, because they're using that right now. And there's another one. Yeah, and there's other water utilities that we could talk to, and I'm sure there's other cities that could use it, but, anyway.
I would expect for us to be able to include it in the 2017 budget, and then depending on which boards we can get to participate, spread
would-
the cost around a little bit, to help.
I just,
Yeah, so-
I just counted the council itself.
Yeah.
They have 4 standing committees maybe,
Yeah.
zoning, planning. I don't know if assessment review would use it, but
Yeah.
Dan would certainly be up for using something like that if it, if it suited his needs. And us, I mean, that's 10 right off the top, so. Yeah, so that was that. So I will tell the salesperson that, she can, and I'll forward Kyle's information, and I'm sure he has it, but he was in on the phone call when they did the webinar.
Is there a per user fee for that?
No,
No?
it's the same, if the city does it, it's $6,000 a year. And you can have as many people,
As many boards and commissions that
As
you
you
have that would want to use the software. And, for some of our boards and commissions and council members, I mean, looking at, the goal is to then cut down on the amount of paper you have to bring to your meetings and keep everyone organized. And so these prices on these tablets are coming down so much. I mean, you can buy like a tablet for $100 now. I mean, these are a little bit more expensive, but yeah, I mean, you can buy tablets to give out to your elected
These were about
officials or board members where they can actually be able to go along with what's going on and not have to worry about, having it all in one place.
Yeah.
You can get one of those, relatively easy, iPad-like devices for, relatively inexpensively. Because a lot of it's just perusing documents. Being able to take some notes is nice, but it's really about just reading the stuff because there's so much stuff that's sent. And that's what the school board really likes about it, is that you can have it all in one place so that you don't lose track of documents.
and you can upload the video to it.
And then you can link the video.
And if somebody sits down and does a start and stop for like each resolution, for each topic, you can actually link sections of the video to the specific agenda items. And all the background data on the agenda items are there. So you could have, more than we probably send you guys, just because, it's a lot of copying, and I don't think you really want reams and reams of paper, but we could have contract documents for all of these things. You could have all kinds of information if you really needed it, and access it, at your convenience. And you can also search. That was the other cool thing. So you, that was kind of a nice thing, so.
And then with a click of a button, you can decide what you want to be publicly listed as your agenda items and what you want talked about and shared, with the public, so that you can have a public interface that also shares your agenda. And as you add things to the agenda the agenda gets updated online, so you don't have to
So
worry
there's
about
not various versions, that's
Yeah.
that's something that's a problem for me anyway.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that is that we wouldn't have privy or anything other than the public section if you wanted the planning board and zoning, so they're all kind of discrete.
Separate.
So, you can control who gets what. And so once you set up those permissions, it automatically goes up. So now Jane has to specifically post the agendas. And it's not a big deal. I mean, it's not like a lot of work. It's like 10 minutes. But she's got to think to do that, to put it on the website. That's all set up, and once you upload the agenda, it goes where it's supposed to go. It just makes it easier.
And wherever this resides, would there be a backup, or is there some legal?
It's kind of like on the server, so as the server has redundancy, it then
That's
also
fine.
has a kind of a depository of documents as well, which is kind of starts to centralize document collection. And, we have it everywhere else, but it acts as kind of a backup. Like,
Yeah.
if you lose something, you could always have at least another kind of vault to go to be like, oh, I think I remember uploading that for a meeting, and then
Right. And I don't think
As long
that,
as you got it 2 places, that's.
well, and I don't think we own it. I think we own the data and what's uploaded, but it's not like software that resides on our server.
Right.
It's on theirs.
On the
And so
cloud.
they're our backup. I think it's a cloud kind of thing.
Oh, all right, okay.
Which is even-
Well, that's even better.
Right.
it's offsite.
So if I'm at home and I'm gonna access it, I'm not accessing it through the cities,
No.
I'm accessing it through the companies.
Right, and we control who can do what and all that. So it just seemed like a cool thing, but as I say, Kyle has done a lot more research than I have on it.
Okay. Pursue that next year then.
Yeah, that one's great.
Insurance proposals.
With your permission, I'd like to move that to executive session. Do you mind? Unless you have something that's...
Okay. We'll get to executive session. Tour.
I think both you, and I talked to the mayor, and Bill and I have been talking about it, we probably should think about a tour for maybe the newer members of the council. I mean, the entire council, but I know Reddy's not here tonight. I don't think he is. But I think he expressed a desire to Bill to go on a tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so maybe we could organize that and maybe get the city bus and do it. You guys have all done it.
You wanna work through, who you work through?
The last time I did it, I worked through our council liaison for him to poll his colleagues and find out when he wanted to do it, when they wanted to do it. I'm open, I mean, it's nice out, we could do it in the afternoon. It's still light, relatively long. We could do it during the day, since as the mayor points out, most of the new council members are educators and they're not working right now.
Yeah.
So
4 of them, all are educators, so.
Yeah, they're all educators, so I mean, they're off the summer.
So doing it sooner than later is better.
We could,
Both
we
with the daylight at night
Right.
and, so yeah, if you want to.
So
We used to do it on a Sunday in what, in May, right?
June, first week, Charlie Manganero's birthday, it was around June 3rd, June 4th, so always that first week in June, that first Sunday in June.
I think the last time we did it was more in the fall.
We did it like in September.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it when the black flies are there, but you want to do it in September-ish, so you don't want to stay.
I know we talked about it last fall, but we kind of decided that because last fall was the election in November, that we knew there was actually going to be
It was
several new aldermen coming in November.
And we knew there would be a new mayor.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you can set that up, let us know.
Reach out to him.
Sooner the better, would be great.
They knew they
Huh? And if anybody here has a preference, we can work toward that. I just thought, I know you work. You work and you're off in the summer. You're going on vacation soon.
Tomorrow.
Soon. And you're going, you'll be away for the rest of the summer?
No.
No.
No, I'll be back around the 24th, 25th.
So like August?
And then I'll be in and out through August, though, because I'll be back and forth through Pennsylvania
Okay.
before we go. Before I get back to school. So, we just play it by ear,
I'm gone the first week of August, from the 30th to the 6th.
And
But
I'm
with
going,
some no.
We're gonna do it on a Sunday again, Judy, or?
Well, I
You do
mean,
it, yeah, if you're doing the weekend.
we can do it on a weekend, that's certainly not option, it's not a problem for me. I mean, the last time the council preferred to do it on a weekday, on a weeknight evening, but that's up to,
Yeah, and the purpose is see the interest over there,
see what they.
find out
Right,
what works on their
What
end,
works on their end.
because most of us have already been around.
You guys have been through it, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I will work with him.
Correspondence.
Just have that letter, you got a packet on, I gotta believe, Jim, you're not there, are you? No, he has to go. He just didn't say goodbye, so pretty soon we're gonna get that weird sound from the phone. I sent you the background on 9 Home Street. But they hadn't sent their letter, but they gave us a letter. The sad story was, we caught them stealing water twice, about a week apart. And on the occasion of the second one, we filed a complaint with the police department. I'm not sure I did that again, but we did it. The gentleman postponed his court date once and walked out on the second one. And as a result, I got a call. So this happened in April of 2015. And, I'm sorry, in June of 2015. And in April of this year, I got a call from the ADA. We went over what happened, and he said, and I said, but, you know, he said, would you find him? I said, yes, we assessed each occurrence of theft. We assessed him a $50 penalty, and we estimated the consumption at 50 units. And he had a frozen meter, so there's that charge. And then, because the second time we actually had to locate the curb stop, because we couldn't trust that they wouldn't do it again, we had to shut it off the street. That's a $50 charge. So all in all, he has a $1,300 bill. So the ADA said, well, I will, if he pays the fine by, and he gave him a date of, I believe it's tomorrow, he would contemplate dismissal of the charges, which seemed fair. So the gentleman called last week because he knows his date's coming up, and he said, that's crazy. I couldn't have used that much water. And I pointed out, well, then you should have had a meter. If you want to pay for what you use, you should have had a meter. And so Dennis and I were talking about it, and I mean, it's a 3-family unit. It's not rented, all of it, so the actual bills right now are very low. But I did some calculations and found that there's about 80 pounds of pressure there, and he had a 3/4 inch hose, as you saw in the pictures. If he left it run for one day at 80 pounds of pressure on a 3/4 inch connection like that, he probably could have used between 45 and 60 units of water. So our estimate of a $50 consumption is not nuts, I don't think. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. So he did write a letter, and Dennis, can I borrow this?
Yeah.
I'll read it. I left mine on my desk. Dear Ms. Hanson and the Board of Water Commissioners, I'm writing to request a consideration of a bill I received on September 23rd, 2015 in the amount of $1,210.58. The bill reflects a water department estimated reading of 100 units of water used plus sewer penalties and fees. At the time of this billing period, my property at 9 Home Street was under a complete renovation. The property had a water main installed with no water or sewer line. That's not true. I mean, the service was live. He had maybe gutted the inside of the building, may have been no internal plumbing. Without my knowledge or approval, the contractor on site, and he names the contractor, chose to access water via the water main to clean some, he used the service lateral, to clean some of his equipment and brushes. He claims that he only used a few gallons. There's no possible way 7,480 gallons of water were used, you know, at some $289.46 with a sewer rate of $571. Lastly, I'm not clear on the line item 5/8 inch frozen on the bill for $212. And that, if you look at the picture that we sent around, it's very clear on the bottom of this photograph. There's a crack on the bottom plate, that is what happens when a water meter freezes. They make that sacrificial plate so that that cracks and the rest of the meter isn't destroyed. That's classic frozen meter. The building wasn't winterized, I'm sure it froze, the contractor he just cut it out, did what was expeditious, and he did that. Our guys found it, guy seemed decent, told him not to use it again, he said he wouldn't, he shut it down. They came back about a week later, and they also told him to get a plumber, have a corner horn installed in the plumbing, and we'll set a meter and you can have water. They came back a week later to see if that was done, and here he was still using the water. So that's how this all transpired. So we have a request to adjust those bills.
I think he should bill the contractor. I don't understand why he's coming back to us if it's what he says it is, because it's...
Can you address water uses, lien against property?
The property owner is always responsible, not a third party, either tenant or who they hire, that's their responsibility.
Okay.
But still.
Because he still has recourse to his contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, he can sue.
Get the money back.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the money back, especially if there was a warning,
Yeah.
There was.
and then there was a second incident.
A meter was eventually installed.
There's 3 meters there now. Yes.
Do you know about when?
Yeah, I do. Well, I don't. But it had to be...
Prior to a certain date that you have actual usage, right?
I'm guessing it was sometime around June. Yeah, September-ish, between June and September of 2015. Because there's a new meter in there then. If we can, on this report that Jane printed for me, the meter install date is not in here, but we can look that up.
But you're comfortable
yeah.
that it's between
Oh, yeah, oh,
September of
sure. Because I can tell by the readings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just saw that.
Yep.
And that was put in by us to prevent this from happening again.
Well, because the man wants to, he's renting
He's ultimately going to use it.
He's renovating the house and
Yeah.
obviously needs use water.
Sure.
Would he have paid for that? Is that part of this bill?
What?
The installation of a meter?
Yes,
Yes.
that's all part of that bill, as is the frozen meter charge of $212, because that's, if the meter freezes, you're responsible.
I don't know if you have that bill part of
The bill?
the packet.
I did, I thought I did, but...
I'm not very sympathetic to him because of the warning. I mean, I think we were very fair. Water
Tried to be.
department did its, so, I mean, it's kind of blatant, come back and just.
If only a few gallons was going to be used, that's a pretty big hose to have installed there. It's a lot of work to do for a couple gallons of water.
I would think.
Again, if that was done by the contractor, that's...
I'm sure it was.
The contractor.
This individual, he does renovate and develop a lot of properties, and he's not a hands-on kind of get in there and do the work kind of guy. He's definitely using contractors, and I can believe that his contractor did do it, but it's his responsibility to supervise his contractor.
You were saying that this happens fairly often with contractors, in the previous meeting.
Some
I
contractors...
guess people don't really think of it
They don't
as,
care.
stealing water. They just
They
think
don't.
it's water.
They
It's
don't.
water.
I need it.
Yeah, exactly.
But a contractor
So
does
they
this
don't-
regularly, and so they know the rules.
Well, maybe some
Right.
of them, maybe some.
Yeah, I'm not sure what this contractor's experience is in the city.
Sure.
I can make copies of that for you.
Yeah,
That's fine, I
I
don't
should've
really
done
need to
that.
make a copy of this.
But I mean, yeah. That's true. We're working toward, and Dennis and Bill and I have met to revise the regulations to make going to the police department irrelevant and make it clear policy for us to handle this. And I'm hoping to have that to you by August or September.
Because we're limited by the bylaws, the laws,
Yeah.
to only penalize $50 an occasion per day.
Per day.
Okay. I think it's per occasion, don't you think? Oh, it's per day?
Well, it says in there, for a continuous violation, a 24-hour period will constitute a new
Salary violation.
violation. It does say that. But we talked a lot about converting, instead of using penalty, some things are fees, you know, I mean, because if you gotta go back 4 times and check on somebody, you know, maybe that's how you justify some of that. And so we kind of came up with something that we'll get ready for everybody to review.
Is the theft of other utilities something that the police department gets involved in?
Absolutely.
So why wouldn't we?
We would, except as Bill said, if it's an out-of-town contractor and he doesn't, or an out-of-town owner, he doesn't live in Ulster County, there's nothing we can do because city court can only, am I out of line there? Are you?
The jurisdiction of the city court is only within the county limits.
But this occurred within the city, or within the county.
But if you're going to sue the defendant has to be amenable to some type of civil action. Criminal action, they can go anywhere in the state. I mean, Cablevision and Central Hudson certainly do prosecute these people for these things.
And I think the difference is, everybody that gets cable and Central Hudson resides there, because it doesn't matter you own it or a tenant, the service is provided to you. Ours goes to the property owner. So if you have an out-of-town, out-of-county landlord, we're kind of stuck.
I don't know if you're stuck, but, I mean, all you can do is bill them for it.
Right.
What else you can do?
No, but-
Can you have them arrested? Yes.
I mean, like, I think Steve's question is, if Central Hudson had a similar case, they would file, what would they file? Into what court?
They would probably file in city court
They
against
do.
a city resident if the person was not a city resident.
Just basically what we've done
Right.
here.
And the police department sees that a little bit differently than us, and I can't tell you why.
The reason is because nobody really considers the water department to be a utility, which it
Correct.
is. People don't think of it as a utility, much like Central Hudson utilities or Cablevision being a utility or anything else being a utility. They think of it more as being a city service benefit.
So the charges that are within the city court right now that's scheduled for,
Dismissal if he's
That's a
tomorrow.
criminal violation pending in the city court.
what is the maximum penalty that the court can,
If it's, I don't know whether, I believe it's a misdemeanor. If it's a misdemeanor, it's anything that's punishable up to a year in jail. If it's a violation, it's anything up to 30 days in jail or a fine. The court can set.
are they limited on how much they can fine him based upon
There
the
are
city
limits.
charter of $50?
It's not city chartered by state law.
Okay, so he could be fined by the court for more than $50
Correct.
also, in addition to us assessing a penalty.
Also, it'd have to pay about $150 in court cost also as a criminal violation.
Well, I
It
can,
can be quite expensive if it's a criminal violation. I don't think they would put him in jail, but they could fine him substantially.
all I can say is in this instance, the police department was more than cooperative. I have had other cases where officers have spent more time talking me out of filing the complaint than they would have if they had just done it.
Well, the one thing we spoke about was on a first occasion to go and shut the water off at the curb and not give him the opportunity to steal
Again.
a second time. The
Right.
very first occasion, turn his water off and have him come back to us when he's ready to
And,
have
yeah,
water.
you know,
Also, that's why, as we were talking about, when we were talking about changing the regulations for the department, are really not a fine, they really should be categorized more as a fee.
Right,
A
service.
service fee, which is separate, distinct from a fine, which would be assessed more in a criminal venue such as city court.
So in this particular case,
yeah,
I mean,
this all predated before we
If you
had
had
those
a-
discussions.
Right.
If you had an egregious violation where someone, and I would think this almost approaches that, and if somebody going to go to the city court, then the city court would fine them a substantial amount. So as to penalize them and also prevent it from happening again and also be a deterrent against others. However, if it wasn't egregious and something did occur, And you had to do all these things that Judy explained, like you had to go back and check in on them, you had to do meters, and you should be compensated for your expense for that in the nature of a fee. So city court should do penalties, as you and I discussed, and we should do fees. We've always referred to it as a penalty, but
It's really a thing.
So in this particular
it should be
case,
double.
it's up to us, I guess, to respond to his letter.
As I read that letter, he is requesting that this board waive or reduce the penalty that was assessed.
Or the amount,
usage
the
charge,
estimate, reduce the estimate.
Right. If we don't,
That's within your discretion.
then, well, he has to make a decision to pay the amount
That's-
regardless of if we reduce it or the full amount as it exists right now. And then, if he doesn't do that, then apparently
That's between him and the court.
the court will make a determination.
Separate and distinct, yes.
What, separate from
If
us.
it'll go to court or it will not go to court. And I would assume maybe at some point in time, the assistant district attorney would have you come down and testify.
No, I think he'd have to give him a stamped receipt from here. I think if he brings a receipt from the water department.
No, but if he doesn't pay,
Oh, then he would call the office and ask us, and we'd tell him, no, the bill's still outstanding.
right. But at some point in time, it
He'd
may or
have
may
to.
go to court, and at some
Right.
point in time,
That's
you may
fine.
or may not have to testify in regards to
That's okay.
whatever.
It's kind of unusual because technically under the law, you can't use a civil penalty, you can't threaten a criminal action to resolve a civil debt. So for example, if I were to have you arrested for a certain charge and yet you owe me money, the district attorney should say, if Dennis paid Bill a certain amount of money, we will withdraw the criminal charges. You can't do that.
Well, I think the only question is how one determined the usage of 100 units of water during that specified period.
That's a fair summary of what is before you, right?
Right.
We can't, it is certainly well within the possibility to
If we're
have done
comfortable
that.
with that, then I don't think we have much leeway in regards to making the determination.
You do have discretion.
And the end result would, if he fails to pay the bill, it'll eventually go,
He's gonna deal with them.
no, it'll eventually go back on his taxes
Oh,
as an
yes.
unpaid
That's
lien
true. That's true.
at some point in time.
Yes.
So I guess I,
And I'm not sure he's clear on that, but he should be,
right.
because he owns enough property.
Well, at the very least, you need to respond back to him regarding to the,
Yeah.
what is,
I'll send him
the
a
frozen,
picture.
the 5/8 frozen line item bill
Yeah.
charge of
Yeah.
$200.12. So what's the board's pleasure in regards to, I guess, we need a motion to respond to this correspondence?
Can I make a motion to respond to the correspondence?
In what way?
Oh, what do you want me to say?
What
Well, that's
direction
the-
do you want to provide the superintendent?
Well, okay, I think Judy knows her water, how much is gonna be going through, if she feels that she gave a good estimate. I feel that, I don't think that we should really change what we have billed him. Is any, what do other people think here?
Have we been through this before where we've had to estimate usage
And that's
and we
pretty-
use a good,
We use
solid-
about 50 units every time.
okay, so that, and that can be justified with something in writing that shows them how this was done.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to make this, I don't want to
Complicated.
suggest that we complicate this to the point
Yes.
where he just responds back and argues that the way it was calculated. But if that is a reasonable calculation and can be
Yeah.
supported, then I think that it makes sense for us to stand firm on the reasons for the penalties that have been assessed and to expect him to respond with what we have produced.
And I think once,
The numbers we-
whatever the board's decision, and Bill jump in here,
Is that a second